All right, well, Simon, I might just get straight into the some of the Grundy discussions. It's obviously been a bit of a talking point off the back of him being dropped down in terms of his position at the club moving forward. What have you made of it, and what are your thoughts on, I guess, some of the discussions around his future at Melbourne?
Oh, there's been a fair bit of hysteria. There's no question about that. From a process of how we're trying to make this combination the most dominant combination in the game, and I went on the record post-game as saying that we love the ruck combination, which we do, but we're trying to increase the combination forward of the ball. We're not trying to turn Grundy into a forward. Let's be really clear on that. We're trying to turn this ruck combination into a dominant force that help us in the ruck, but they also help us ahead of the ball. So on the back of that hysteria, I've heard him playing as a permanent forward. I've heard him, we're trying to trade him. That's not the case. We love Grundy. We think this is going to be a dominant force, and we're going to keep working to do it. We've got a growth mindset around it.
So can you just elaborate, I guess, then on your hope, this end goal, I guess, from what you'd hope this next little period with Brodie, doing this forward training. What is the ultimate goal, I guess, that you see, if it all works out?
Yeah, so if it all works out, we see Brodie and Max playing 10 minutes a quarter forward of the ball. But how we get that extra exposure is at VFL level. So he'll play as a permanent forward again this week. We know what he can do in the ruck. We're trying to increase his ability to impact forward of the ball. So he'll play there again this week at VFL level. We think it's exciting. He's buying into it. He wants to do it well. He wants this combination to work, and he wants to be a part of it. And his attitude towards it's been first class. So we think we're going to continue to evolve it and develop it. And we've certainly got a growth mindset around what it looks like.
It was obviously only a scratch match last weekend, but what did you make of his performance in that VFL hit out?
Yeah, it was good for him. There was plenty of, flow on the ball. It was 14 v 14. It was different. But, he had some impact. He contributed. He kicked a couple. He looked lively in terms of what he was able to do. And, we get another look at it this week. So, as I said, with increased exposure, the time that he spends forward of the ball, when he comes back, is going to be of benefit to us. And we think we're going to get a really good combination as the year goes on. It's really important to us.
Simon, is it a definite 2 weeks for Brodie in the VFL? Apologies if it missed the first question or answer. Is it a definite 2 weeks in the VFL no matter what? Or is it if he plays well, he could be coming to consideration next week? What's the go there?
Yeah, there's no timeline on it at all. What we're trying to do as a club and a team is continue to increase our ability to have impact forward of the ball. We think we're really comfortable in a lot of areas of the ground. And we want to make sure that our forward half of the ground functions really well. And as I said, this ruck combination is part of that. If it works, it works. If it doesn't, we'll continue on the path that we're on right now. We're very open-minded to what it looks like. But as I've said, we're going to leave no stone unturned to make sure that it becomes a threat in our footy.
Simon, does he have to kick a bag of goals in the VFL? What sort of form do you want to see him performing at that level before you do bring him back in?
I just understand more, get more exposure to it, have an impact forward of the ball, whether it be aerial, patterns, awareness, helping the team score. So there's a whole range of things that go into it. We're not looking for one specific thing, but we want to expose him more. So when he does do it at AFL level, he's had an increased exposure at it and is better at it and makes the combination even more potent.
Just on the flip side, I mean, when Max gets to have a performance by himself like he does, I guess it sort of adds a bit of fuel to that discussion. How does an effort like that factor into those discussions? Because we know Brodie's obviously had a really good ruck season, but when Max has a game like that, how does that affect that plan?
Yeah, look, it was a dominant performance by Max, and it was a performance that we've seen in the past. There's no question about that. AFL footy's a long season, and we ask a lot out of our key personnel, and Max, for the first week for the year has taken up that sole position, had a really dominant game. It's 1 week though, and as I said, we just want to continue to assess things. We're really happy with how Max performed. We're really happy with how he functioned, but we think we can still get growth in our game, and we're going to keep looking towards that.
Harrison Petty, how's he pulled up after Friday night?
Yeah, look, he's had a sort of obviously an extended break, a little bit more time between games, so he's feeling a lot better. But he's got to train today, and we'll assess it after training today. But there's some positive signs there. but we need to make sure he's 100% right to go. For 2 weeks now we've subbed him out, but on the first sightings in the early part of the week, he's progressing in the right direction. There's no doubt about that.
How did you go about viewing Friday night, which was obviously just such a crazy game, so many momentum swings there? How did you go about reviewing it all?
Yeah, look, obviously there was a lot to like in certain parts of the game, and there was a big part of the game in the middle where Brisbane had some dominance on us. So, that's sort of how we looked at it. We looked at what, some of the things we performed really well at, and also some of the things where we struggled at, especially from a defensive point of view. But what I did love about the guys' ability was to stay in the now. We're starting to produce a team that never gives up, that can come from anywhere and come from any position, and that's what I was really proud of, our ability to continue to execute under pressure and get that momentum back in our favour. And that's something that we've been working a lot on in the last 18 months, and it's starting to come out in games.
And how about preparing for Adelaide this weekend? They've been such a high-scoring side for most of the season, whereas your side's struggled for goals in recent weeks. How do you go about preparing for them, considering it is almost an elimination final for the Crows?
Yeah, similar to last week, we're playing a very good offensive team. They work incredibly hard through the middle of the ground, so defensively is going to be a real challenge for us. We know that, and we've started to put some scoreboard pressure back on the opposition ourselves. So, we know the type of team that we're playing. They're a good footy side. They've got a lot of talent ahead of the ball, and they're very efficient with the way they play in their forward half of the ground. So there's no doubt that supply is going to be really important, and our ability to defend and get the game looking like a Melbourne game is going to be important as well.
Simon, you get to see, I guess, the partnership of Ben Brown and Jacob Van Rooyen for the first time. I believe it was the first time they played together. Obviously, at opposite ends of their career, but you've been, open throughout the year about what you're wanting to see from them. How did you view that first game together as a tour duo, and I guess what are some of the feedback you've given them as they prepare for this weekend?
Yeah, well, look, we thought the front half of the ground functioned relatively well on the weekend. Clearly, Jake Melksham and Christian Petrarca were a big part of that with Cozzy Pickett, and our tools are still working their way through that. We thought the combination was solid. We think it's got room to grow and get better, and we'll continue to look at it in that light. But having an experienced player like Ben playing with Jacob is invaluable for his experience and his growth in his game as well.
And just one on Clayton Oliver, the weekly question. I believe my maths is right, that maybe the next week would be that 3-week mark, which would be the earliest sort of, potential for him to return. I guess how's he tracking, and is he any closer to bridging that gap between that 90 and 100% effort mark?
Yeah, look, he's progressing well through his rehab. He won't play next week. I think on our injury report it still says 3 weeks, so that's probably more likely that he's in that range of 3 to 4 weeks. He's still building up in terms of his speed, and he's ticking all his markers off. But he's in a good space. He's progressing well, but we're not putting a timeline on it because we want to make sure it's right.
Last couple, thanks, guys.
I guess just a quick one last one on that. Do you feel confident you'll see him again this year?
Yep.
Quick one, if I could, Goodwin. Michael Hibberd, how's he travelling?
Yeah, look, he played in the 14v14 on the weekend, got through really well, so he'll train again today. He's available for selection, so he's an important player for us, so we'll assess that later today once we get through training.